Hi, welcome to Shaf Man TV, and today I'm going to look at whether Arsenal can win the Premier League title this season. The short answer is no. However, there's been a lot of criticism of Arsenal and of Arteta, and I think some of it's a little bit unwarranted because I think that the actual issues of competing in the Premiership for Arsenal come from way above Arteta and way above the players, and it obviously is at boardroom level. So let's have a quick look at Arsenal's summer spending. They bought a few players actually, and it's only early in the season now. They had a pretty hard start to the season and have obviously lost some games and had a bad start. They've just beat Norwich, which is obviously an important win for them. But I feel like they've bought some okay players actually. I quite rate Ben White. I saw him play at Leeds a few times, and I think he's a really promising defender. That's a good signing. They bought Lakonga, Belgium, young player. Um, if he performs like the other Belgian players, then that'll be a fantastic signing. They bought Ramsdale. I don't particularly rate Ramsdale, but he's kind of young and he might develop. And they've bought a few other players actually that don't really come to mind at this point. But they basically have one or two decent players. I mean, Saka has developed, had an amazing Euros. He looks like a great player to me. I think that Tierney looks top draw. He's been injured on and off, but Tierney looks like a top draw player. Another player that I actually rate really highly, who's unfortunately been injured as well, is Thomas Partey. Um, he looked fantastic at Atletico. He's just been really unlucky, and I think that the key for Arsenal it probably comes through their scouting and their youth system. And obviously, Edu, the technical director, has been criticised heavily for purchasing, like Willian, who they've let go on a free, and David Luiz, who's also left the club. So it's kind of scouting. Can they find players kind of similar to how Leicester do? Leicester seem to pick up players for sort of 12, 15 million pounds and kind of make them into sort of 50, 60 million pound players. They bought Odegaard from Madrid again, and another player that I think's a good player, like a good age, good price, good pedigree. He could develop. So I think they've been heavily criticised because of the start they've had, but they had a really hard start, and I think they've signed some okay players. I think the youth system as well could hold the key. They seem to produce quite a few pretty good young players. So Smith Rowe's there. They've sold Willock. Obviously Saka came through, um, and you've got a few other players that I think there's a young guy that's been highly rated called Charlie Patino or Patina, I think. He's supposed to be the best thing they've seen for a long time. So if someone like him, he comes through and he's of high quality, then you start to have a pretty good starting 11. So it's just, I think that historically they've kind of post Wenger, they've had a similar situation as United. United have managed to mask it by spending an awful lot of money at it, and Arsenal don't really spend the same level as City and Chelsea and United. So their fall from Wenger's sort of departure has been even bigger because they've bought quite a few players that, and I don't even watch them regularly, but I don't think they're Arsenal quality. When I think about Arsenal, I think about the Overmars, Vieira, sort of Henri teams, and the type of players they've bought, like Kolasinac, or I'm not too sure if that's how you pronounce it, or um, sort of the defenders they bought. I think it's Pablo Mari. He looks weak, and Xhaka as well. They just gave him a new contract. He's another player that seems like a liability to me. And so I don't think they can win the Premier League this season, but actually, I think Arteta, um, seems like a pretty competent manager, and it's something which is vital is the players. Like you need to buy top players, or you need to buy the right type of players, or develop them through the club, or else you're not going to win. And you're up against City, who have a lot of money and a great manager and already a great team. United, who spent quite heavily. Liverpool, who've won the league recently and the European Cup recently. And you've got Chelsea, who've effectively spent like £400 million in 18 months. So it's not easy for clubs like Arsenal. And as I say, like you've got clubs like Everton, you've got a rich owner. You've got Leicester, who Rodgers, in my view, is a really interesting, good manager. They've already got a good team. So ultimately, for a club like Arsenal, what is success? And I think that a lot of the I think a lot of the anger from the fans is, if you look at it, their season tickets are by far and away the most expensive. So they've got this massive, beautiful, amazing, shiny stadium that Wenger obviously, in the last sort of decade of his tenure, had to pay for by selling on players and not reinvesting in the squad. And now they've got this amazing stadium, and they've not got the success that actually follows having such a world class stadium. You've not got a world class team in a world class stadium, so it's going to be an interesting season for them. I think that if they keep all their players fit, they could do okay. I think they've received a lot of criticism. Like Aubameyang on his day is like world class in my view. I think Lacazette's so, um, and you've got Emil Smith Rowe that looks like a decent technical type of player that can pick a pass and can be quite dangerous in the final third. And as I say, like if you get Lakonga and you get Thomas Partey in the midfield together, that's a good midfield partnership. And you get Tierney injury free, Ben White uh, playing, and get him a stable partner next to him. And they've just bought the guy, the Japanese international, I forget his name. Like if you get stability through the team, then they could be okay. I feel like they do lack a bit of character, actually, some leadership, and that also comes from player recruitment, from from having standards and sort of implementing the sort of thing that you've seen with Ronaldo now coming to United. It's like it's a question of standards, but I think Arsenal have got some good players, and I think Arteta's a decent young manager, and I think they could have an okay season. They could probably win a cup. They could probably, if they have a really good season. I don't think they'll finish in the top four. They probably won't finish in the top six, but they could. It's not. It's not. Completely impossible. So I think that if they really want to build something with Arteta, they've purchased quite a few players now. They'll need to go again in January or probably next summer and buy even better players, because money aside, if you're if you're Jack Grealish, for example, you wouldn't have signed for Arsenal. If you're, you know, like a young up and coming player in a Real Madrid, a City, a United, you know, come in for you, you're probably not going to sign for Arsenal. So they're buying players at the level below the elite youngsters and the elite players. So they need their youth system to produce players who can stay there, or they need to somehow do what Leicester have done, or do what um, Dortmund do. Borussia Dortmund seem to find these players, these players for like 12, 15 million pounds that are, world class youngsters, and they seem to make them into amazing players. But obviously, the German league is lower; it's a lower level than the Premiership. But I think Arsenal can probably finish seventh, and if they can win a cup, and then if they back Arteta in the transfer market again, then they have a chance long term. But if they don't spend a few hundred million from even after what they've spent this summer, they're not going to do it. Like they probably need to buy another centre back, like a top draw centre back to go next to White. They probably need to buy a central midfield player, who can replace Xhaka, They probably need to buy a striker. Aubameyang may leave, Lacazette may leave, but they probably need to buy a striker that can score 25, 30 goals. They probably need to buy some more depth in the squad as well. And actually, I'd argue they probably need to buy a goalkeeper because I don't really rate Leno and Ramsdale. So it's not all bad, but I think, I mean, United have had it. It's really about the ownership of the club. I think the Kroenke family are actually very wealthy, aren't they? But they just don't want to invest. They just see this as a business, and whilst they're charging thousands of pounds for season tickets, and I mean, like the average working class fan who's watching Arsenal home and away must be out of pocket about £5,000, £7,000 a year. If you're taking your child with you, you're talking like 10, £12,000 probably with travel, £15,000. It's huge money. So I can understand why there's a lot of anger, and you kind of you also have like the DNA of the club has been. I mean, that team that Arsenal had with sort of Vieira, Henri. Obviously, most fans remember that. But even before that, the George Graham or when Wenger first went there, they like Arsenal were like quite difficult to beat and sort of had some steel about them, and they don't even have that. So not only are they not a top draw team, they don't have those winners. They don't have like they they don't have those not nasty players, but they don't have those players who can just grind out wins, and those sort of winners like Tony Adams, for example, like England captain, winner, just a winner, and they had like sort of players there like after that Vieira, just a winner, World Cup winner, I think, and Petit and Henri, obviously, an unbelievable player. So they've not got the they've not really got the finesse, nor have they got the steel. So I think they're at a crossroads. I think they're a too big a club to not come back because they're too well supported. They've got an amazing stadium. They probably, if they had a different owner, they would probably act a lot differently in the transfer market and buy elite players or buy elite youngsters and actually, you know, buy better players because really it's managers can only do so much. If you took Guardiola and gave him the Burnley squad, he's not going to win the league, is he? If you go and take Klopp and you give him Watford's team, he's not going to win the league. He's not even going to get top six. So like you need to buy the right players. So I mean, like the next 12 to 18 months, we'll see uh, whether Edu can, you know, sort of pick up good players. But I don't think they've had a bad transfer window. I don't. They've obviously spent decent money, but I think they've got some good young players, and they've bought some players with potential. They just need time, so it's going to be interesting. No, they won't win the league, but they could have a decent season if players like Saka keep developing, and it's not all negative. They just need to go again in the transfer market and keep upgrading that squad because you know teams like City are not standing still. Liverpool look strong again. Chelsea won't stand still. United look like they've got the bit between the teeth. Leicester have bought players. Tottenham have kept hold of Kane and they'll be decent. Everton have had a good start to the season, so you just need to keep investing. So anyway, thanks for listening to the video. Please subscribe and please comment in the comment section if you disagree or agree. Have a nice day. Thank you.